being kind can change the world. How often it seems that watching the news, and I do watch the news, okay, reading the newspapers occasionally, okay, watching the talk shows and all the stuff that's put on social media, that these days there's little kindness, it seems, left in the world. It seems that hatred and meanness are riding high in our society. The result of what some call the unrelenting flow of negativity is that it seems to be discouraging people. And sometimes I think when people are really, really attached to all of this, they get, something happens and they get warped. And they find themselves repeating patterns of negativity in their own lives. They repeat in their own lives what they're seeing in terms of the negative news of the day. So those who watch a lot of news, read the newspapers, now I believe that it's important that we be aware of what's happening in our society, in our world. Okay? But I try to, when that's on and when it's negative, I try to lift it up. Okay, I try to see through it and see the outcome as always being love and peace, no matter what the situation is. Right? Using our wonderful gift of imagination. And so that's something we can do to kind of uplift the negative news that we are, when we feel the need to be aware of what is going on in the world. But a University of Texas researcher named Mary McNaughton Castle studies the effect that media consumption has on people and the stress levels that it creates in people. And she wrote that media consumption leads to an increased sense of helplessness. It also causes people, she said, to catastrophize their personal problems. And that's a fancy way of saying they take their molehills and they whoop them up into mountains, okay? But just like a lot of people can be influenced by the negativity that's around us that we see happening on the media, people can be influenced by the good things, by the uplifting things, the inspiring things. People can be inspired and uplifted by kindness, stories about kindness and acts of kindness. One inspirational speaker said, what we need to do is we need to flood the byways and flood the airways with stories of kindness in action so that we may focus on what is right, what is loving, what is good. And she was sounding a whole lot about the writer of Philippians 4:8, who wrote, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. And I especially like the word finally in here. Finally, brothers and sisters. That means after all of the watching the news, all soaking all of this in and what's happening across the world and the wars happening and all these other things, finally, bring yourself back to what's true. Bring yourself back to what's love and what's peace and what's beauty. Okay? Because beyond all the appearances of things, the foundation of all that is love. It is beauty, it's truth, it's wisdom, it's understanding, it's peace. So what is kindness? Well, kindness is a quality of being friendly. It's being considerate and also generous to ourselves and others. And there are all kinds of ways to express kindness. And all of the ways we express kindness are the qualities that we indeed want to have more of in this world. Kindness is the will to extend ourselves by sharing not only of our monetary goods, but also our other inner valuables, such as time and energy, our care and compassion, and our willingness to support others in need. And kindness is expressed individually and as groups, on Monday, September 23rd, this is about 3 weeks ago, there was an article in the Salina Journal that it got my attention. The title of this article was, Laundry Love makes people feel human again. Laundry love makes people feel human again. And I thought, wow, okay. Now, I did want to read this article. I didn't know what laundry love was, okay? But the fact that it made people feel human again sounded like a marvelous thing. And when I read it, it said that there was a company that started in Ventura, California, where a homeless man named Eric T-Bone, he was asked, what service could someone do that would make a larger impact in his life? What service could someone provide? And he said, well, if I had clean clothes, I think people would treat me like a human being. And this was a kind of a surprise to the people who were asking the question, but they understood. And so this company called Laundry Love was born due to the efforts of a man named Greg Rossiter. And it works to provide the human dignity that T-Bone was talking about through clean clothes and linens. A partnership was formed between Laundry Love and some 30,000 laundromats nationwide. And they have helped over 72,000 people to have clean clothes and clean linens who had difficulty because they didn't have any laundry facilities where they lived and couldn't afford to travel to where the laundromats were or have the money to work the machines. And so they were providing all of this. And a woman in Salina, her name was Debbie Rivers. She became inspired by Laundry Love in California. And she created a group called Salina Shares. And now Salina Shares does a lot of things. In the wintertime, they collect gloves and hats and all kinds of things for the winter. And they put them in the parks, they put them wherever people may be, so that people can pick those up and use them if they want them. But what she began in 2014 was a branch of Laundry Love from California. And they were inspired to help in this way. Now, the Salina Laundry Love works a little bit differently than the California one does. Every month, they visit all of the laundromats in Salina, and they pay for 5 loads. They pay for 5 loads of wash for all of the families that come. They basically said there's no qualification for this, for having this service, because anyone who comes and is at that laundromat at the time when they are there doing this can use that service and wash their clothes using the 5 gifts from Salina Shares. And I thought, boy, that's a really great thing, okay? It never really crossed my mind that something that would bring dignity to the homeless was being able to have clean clothes, something that seems so taken for granted in my life and by all of us. Okay? Kindness, being expressed by groups in many ways. And kindness is also expressed by individuals, as you know. On November 12th, in 2012, in New York City, in Times Square, police officer Larry DePrima was walking his beat, and this was probably one of the coldest days of the season. And he was wearing boots, and he had a couple of socks stuffed in his boots and stuff, but he still felt like his feet were freezing. And as he was walking, he came across a homeless man, and this man's name was Jeffrey Hellman. And as he looked down at Mr. Hellman, he saw blisters on this man's feet, about the size of his palm, he said. The man had no shoes and socks. And he immediately rushed off to the nearest store where he could buy boots and socks for the man and brought those back. And a tourist from Arizona happened to see all this and snapped a picture of the policeman giving Mr. Hellman, the boots and the socks. And back at the station, this picture was put on the police department Facebook page. And a lot of people saw this picture, and they made comments below this picture. And some of those comments were that this brought me to tears. Another said, this restores my faith in humanity. And another said something like, wow, it's good to know that there are still good people in the world. And we have that kind of feeling when we witness acts of kindness. It does restore something in us, okay? Even though we know that, of course, there are good people in the world. When we're bombarded with news that seems to think that everybody's a crook, everybody's a thief, and out to get your money or whatever, okay? It's good to know, to be made aware of, even though we know there's good in everyone. Not everyone is expressing that goodness all the time, okay? Which provides opportunities for the rest of us to learn and grow. So the policeman did not do this for the pat on the back or to have his face splashed on Facebook or anything like that. He did it because that's who he was. And most of the time, people who engage in acts of kindness, they do so because that's part of them. And there are a lot of benefits to kindness. Someone said, let's see how they voiced that. They said that there are 3 separations that happen when someone expresses kindness, and I didn't understand what that meant, that there were 3 separations. But I read further, and it was explained that, number 1, the person who does a kind act, they are benefited because they feel good about that. And number 2, the person receiving that kindness feels good. They've been validated. They've been lifted up. They've been seen and assisted. And the witness, anyone seeing that act of kindness, is affected also. They are inspired, perhaps, to think of how they can be kind in the world, in their sphere, and with the people whose lives they touch. So those are the 3 separations of kindness. Now, there's another story, and this is from New York. And it's about a father who is standing on a subway train station with his 2 young girls, his 2 daughters. And he witnessed a man who, he seems to be having some kind of epileptic fit. And he stumbles off the stage down on the tracks. And the train is coming. They can hear it, the whistle, it's coming. They don't see it yet, it's coming down. And so this man, he's there with his daughters, okay? There were other people froze. They didn't know what to do. And he said, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And it occurred to him that he could jump down there and maybe, and once he jumped down, they saw the train. He didn't have time to shift that man up and get himself out. So he pushed the man into the groove, into where the tracks were, pushed him down and laid on top of him. And he spoke to him because he knew the man was having some kind of seizures and was wanting to move about, and he had to keep him still while they laid down and let the train go over them. The article, this was a story that was picked up by CBS, and the article said that the train clearance was 21 inches, and the 2 men laying down together were 20 inches. There was just an inch where that train went over them. I don't know. Even though I saw this a couple of years ago, every time I think about this, and online you can actually see the video, okay? It's terrifying. I have been in New York, and I have stood on the train station waiting for a train, and it has always bothered me to get too close to the edge, okay? You never know, okay? And then I heard a story about a woman who was standing there, and there were a bunch of teenage boys, and they were roughhousing and all, whatever, and they pushed her by accident, and she fell in the track, okay? Now, another guy jumped down, okay, and the train wasn't there yet, so he was able to hoist her up, okay, and the others came and helped pull her up and then pulled him back off the train tracks. And Ellen was interviewing him and gave he and his wife this wonderful vacation in Hawaii and all that good stuff. I was delighted to hear, and I didn't know this, that Ellen DeGeneres ends all of her shows with the statement, "Be kind to one another." Did you all know that? Do you watch it? Okay. Wow, I didn't know that. What if everybody ended everything with the statement, "Be kind to one another"? Okay. What if before you all walked out the door here this afternoon, I yelled out, "Be kind to everyone"? Okay. What if bosses in the board meeting, okay, when they started the meeting and then when they ended the meeting, they said, "Okay, folk, now be kind to one another." Okay. Would that make a difference? I think so. Now, yes, okay, some would laugh about it, okay, but even that lightens the mood. Okay. Yeah, all right, be kind. And, things like that can spread, okay? A boss doing that, okay, I can see that spreading through all the other companies, okay, because it's a thing, okay? And when they see him coming, they're going to joke at him, whatever, but they get the message, okay? What a wonderful thing to remind people to do. Be kind to one another. Now, I want to write all these other shows and say, you all have that at the end of your show, please, okay? Be kind to one another. Now, there are very important physical benefits of kindness. Scientists tell us that kindness has a rippling effect. It's contagious. When people see something being done to help someone else, it does inspire them to think of how they can be kind like that, okay? People are always looking up to superheroes, and they want to be a superhero, okay? But the kindness that we're talking about, it's not this big super-duper thing, okay? It can be a very small thing. A smile to someone who's looking down. A funny face to make them laugh, okay? Practically anything. I have a 92-year-old friend, and it doesn't bother her at all to see someone who's looking down, and she goes up and says, "You look like you could use a hug, honey," okay? And most always, they let her hug, and they hug her. It's amazing to watch, and she feels good, they feel good, and I feel good watching it. And I'm thinking, no, I'm not going to go and ask her. That's good, okay? It's inspiring, okay? But we can take the lead of some people who are like that. She's bold like that, okay? She's a feisty little 92-year-old, okay? And I love her. But kindness is going over to your elderly friend's home late at night because the smoke alarm is buzzing, okay? And the battery needs to be changed, okay? And though you were in your pajamas, okay, you get back in your regular clothes and drive over there to change her battery, okay? Being kind is walking your neighbor's dog when they're sick, okay? Even though you're not accustomed to using that poop bag thing, okay? Cats don't need that, okay? Kindness takes all kinds of forms, and it's good for us to be aware. What are the needs of the people in our lives? What are the needs of our neighbors? Okay. Remember that Jesus basically said, everyone's our neighbor. Remember that Good Samaritan story? Okay. We don't have the option anymore of just walking by things, okay? Because life calls us. And it's my belief that if something is in our face, we have to make a decision about it, okay? We have to decide how we're going to think about it. We have to decide whether or not we feel guided to take some outer action, okay? And maybe we don't. Maybe we're just guided to take inner action, okay? And to pray about it, and to send positive energy to a person or to a situation. And all of this is being kind because we are willing to do it. Now, kindness, whether we are expressing it or witnessing it, does several things for us. It releases oxytocin, which is a good hormone, a feel-good hormone that decreases our blood pressure. And it also releases serotonin, which is another hormone that helps us feel kinder. It's the natural antidepressant, and it decreases anxiety and strengthens our immune system. Scientific studies tell us that those who are kind live longer and healthier lives. But also, it says that perpetually kind people have 23% less cortisol, which is that hormone that is the fight or flight. I think there's three things, though. Yes. Fight, flight, freeze. Yes, okay. It's that hormone that causes us to do that and to try to do battle with dinosaurs when we don't have dinosaurs anymore. But being kind or witnessing kindness helps us reduce that particular hormone. People get what they call a helper's high from helping, which helps them fight off illnesses. And that's why they say people who are kind, perpetually kind, live longer lives. But what is real exciting in these scientific studies is the fact that kindness can be learned. And they are doing experiments with young children to teach them kindness. And I always kind of thought that kindness was something that you were, but the studies are saying that you can be taught kindness. It can be modeled for you, and you can pick that up and learn it, and then it can become a part of your expression. Now, at first, it could be a little awkward to say, you look like you need a hug, and to hug a total stranger, okay? But after a bit, it becomes part of you, and you're comfortable with that. I think that's really great. A smile, a hug, a funny look, or a funny story can lift someone up, and all of these can be expressions of kindness. Holding open a door, or going to, as I mentioned here, helping your elderly neighbors, being generous with true, meaningful compliments. Applaud someone who's working hard on a project. Give a compliment to someone who is striving to do well, perhaps a child working on homework. Take a meal to your sick neighbor, saying please and thank you a lot. Buy coffee for a coworker. Remember someone's birthday or other special day. Let someone who's in a hurry move ahead of you in the checkout line at Dillon's or wherever you shop. And something I appreciate every Wednesday morning is that my neighbor across the street always comes over after he puts his trash dumpster back. He always comes over and takes my dumpster and moves it to my back gate. Now, he doesn't enter the back because it's kind of like a fortress there. I've got fencing on top of fencing here so that my jumper doesn't escape, okay? So he said, I'm not coming in there, but I'll move right up to the gate. So he does that for me. He's an early riser. I'm not an early riser. And he kind of likes to have the dumpsters all put away. So this is for him, too. And I'm grateful, and I let him do it, and I express my appreciation. So, rolling back your neighbor's trash dumpster once it's been emptied, that's an act of kindness. Now, we can go online to Random Acts of Kindness Foundation. They've got all kinds of ideas on what we can do, simple things, okay, to do as acts of kindness to help someone. Now, this is especially needful for our teenagers today, our kids and our teenagers, because there are 6 things that they have found occur when teenagers get involved in doing random acts of kindness. Number 1, they have less depression, and this means fewer suicides. 2, there's less involvement in risky behaviors. 3, they are less likely to fail in school. They have 4, have increased self-esteem and a greater social competence. 5, they're happy and they're more engaged in their life. 6, kindness makes them all attractive, and it makes us all attractive. So let's get busy beautifying this world by acts of kindness. Make the world great again with kindness. Daring to be kind can change the world. Sometimes just a person at a time, sometimes groups at a time, okay? Or sometimes even on larger scales. But we can change the world when we decide that kindness can do it, and we can choose to be kind. God bless you. Oh, I wanted to say that November 13th is World Kindness Day. So get cracking on some ideas, okay? I happen to like the idea of putting a flower in someone's mailbox. I've thought about that. And I thought about that when the flowers were live, okay? Now I'm thinking I'm going to have to put one of those linen or cloth, silk flowers in the mailbox, which is okay. They'll still be surprised by it. I just haven't decided who I'm going to try this out on, okay? You got to be sneaky in my neighborhood because people are retired and they're at the windows and they're sitting outside, and so it's not quite as easy, okay? I can do it at night. Take a little flashlight, sneak over, okay? We'll see. I'll let you know what the result is, okay?
Especially let us know if you hear shotguns being fired. Someone's sneaking around.
Okay. Yeah, oh, yeah, I have to be leery of the folks that have dogs. That one, okay. We got cats here. I'm good. I'll check it all out before I venture, okay? It's good. And I'm going to share with you this morning the loving kindness meditation that the Buddhists call metta meditation.